Blast me to the mortal realms! It's time for the Mad Millers review of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer issues 76, 77, and 78. The Stormdrake Guard by Hachette Partworks and Warhammer. Hello everyone, welcome to the big issue of Stormbringer, which is 76, 77 and 78, giving us the Stormdrake Guard. So this is our final 3 issues of Stormcast models and what models they are. So yeah, we get 2 of these awesome dragon riding Stormcast guys, complete with flying stands and bases. And yeah, they are really impressive kits. So what we're going to do, we'll open all the issues, we'll look at all the models first off, and yeah, then we'll go through each issue and I'll bring everything back in for my final thoughts. But before we do, don't forget to, of course, do all the usual. Like this video if you are enjoying the Stormbringer content, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Check all my links in the video description, including my Patreon page where you can help support the channel if you'd like to. And also there is the community page here on YouTube where there are polls and posts all about my hobby life. So if you want to help vote what's going to be seen next on the channel, check out the poll for which collection I'm going to be collecting after this has ended. It's either going to be the how to build the Megazord, or build the Megazord should I say, by Fanhome, or the Combat Patrol magazine by good old Hachette, which I think I'd probably like more than the Megazord, although I do have a bit of a soft spot for that classic Power Ranger mecha. Right, without further ado then, let's rip open these issues and we'll take a look at everything. I'll do all the opening up off camera, I think. First up then, let's take a look at our models. So first off, we have 2 pretty big bases for them to go on. We also get 2 of these flying stands. So one has actually stamped itself off its frame. So we glue the flying stand down to the base, and then our dragon sits on top quite nicely. And yeah, these are ideal and nice and thick. A little bit better with the ball joint than the 40k ones with the little lip that they stick onto the model with, but yeah, these are pretty cool. Definitely going to be fun to build. The magazine will tell you to glue the base, the flying stand, even on top of the texture paint. That's a big no-no. That will just rip straight off. You want to glue your flying stand to the base first, then add your texture paint and paint over it. You might also want to use a mold line remover to remove any of the mold lines on this flying stand. Yeah, you definitely want to build up a nice bit of detail around it and maybe put some scatter pieces on the base like shields and stuff. You're going to have loads of leftover pieces from this kit anyway. So we'll start with issue 76's frame, which is this one. So this one builds either the Knight Draconis, which is a character model, or we're going to be using the regular shield to build our regular Knight on Drake. So yeah, this is going to be the female Knight. We've got bare head, 2 different helmeted head options, and we got the champion's head there. We've also got champion shoulder pad there. So we got additional arms for the rest of the model. So we got another arm here for the character's lance. We got sword or lance for our rider, and then we've got the choice of the shield there. We got the beautiful detail on the wings here, loads of nice scale detail. We got the armor for the dragons there. So we got 2 abdomen pieces for some reason, but only 1 upper body, which is kind of odd, seeing as they are both near enough identical. Only one's got a bit more of a leaning sort of pose to it. We do have a couple of head options for our dragon though. So we got the basic dragon rider there, and we got the character dragon rider up at the top there. So 2 neck options as well, looks like it. So you can build up both heads and probably magnetize it if you wanted to swap between the two. But yeah, shoulder pads as well, loads of extra details, claws, hands, etc. So yeah, really intricate and detailed kit. So yeah, pretty cool. That's the first frame. And here we have the frame from issue 77. So yeah, we have on here the male Stormcast. Again, we've got 2 different abdomen sections, so depending on how you want your model posed. You've got the Flaming Sword, which is another option for the Knight Draconis. So you've either got the sword or the lance. You've got a regular sword if you want to have a slightly different posed normal dude. You've got the lance for the rider. You've got quite a few head options again. So you've got a male bear head there, 2 male helmeted heads, one with a beard, one without, and 2 more heads there. So you can make a male Knight Draconis if you wanted to. So yeah, nice that you can make either model into the Knight Draconis. You got these beautiful wings, so yeah, lovely splayed wings, so a nice lot of texture there to pick out. Again, you got nice chunky shoulder pads there with the shield arm. We got a big old round shield here, so I believe this must be for the Knight Draconis to have. So then you got a regular shield or the Champion's shield, whichever you prefer to add to your model. And yeah, just all in all, again, similar thing. We've got different icons here. So these are like little tilt plates that you can put on your riders. So that's really cool. So you can have different heraldry for each rider. You got a plume there to add to the detail. And yeah, these kits look fantastic. Can't wait to build and paint them. There's so much detail going on. And yeah, it's going to really lend to dry brushing and painting. The magazine paint guide says to do a lot of glazing. Personally, I wouldn't do that. That's going to clog up a lot of your detail. Personally, I'm probably going to be applying a contrast and then a dry brush over the top of that and probably leaving it at that. I haven't decided yet what colour I'm going to be painting these. Something that will match nicely with the reds, so possibly a dark blue or even a turquoise. Something that helps match with the iron fanes that will be mounted on top of them. And yeah, that's pretty much it for all the frames in these issues. So now we can move straight on to all the new paint guides, lore, build guides, etc. in the magazines. So let's kick things off with issue 76 and we'll go through it as quickly as we can. So for our read article, we have the finale to our Spearhead story. We've got a build guide for the Stormdrake Guard pages. We've got the Iron Jaws battle traits and a test of metal. So not a lot in this issue, but they are quite a few pages each section, which is pretty cool. So we got the finale to Spearhead. Kind of odd that we have all of these stories split up as they have been. Would have been nice if we kept them consistent. I know with Imperium they were kind of consistent. We had 1 or 2 that were split over quite a few gaps, but most of them were pretty much completed within a few issues. So yeah, we're going to have quite a few finales. We've got Spearhead and we've got another one in issue 78. So yeah, Spearhead is the finale of Illyria Swiftwind, our Stormcast hero who leads her Vindictors and the fight to support the Stormbringer Crusade in the Realm of Fire. So yeah, nice short story finishing off the conquests of our Stormcast there. Then I got our build guide for the Stormdrake Guard. So we're going to be building in sub-assemblies. So rider, mount, base, base. So Building our riders, so we got the two parts of the torso, the little tilt shield to go on as well. We're told to use part 88, 90 and 89 for our legs. So part 198 for the shield there. And then you've got the choice of the two heads for the rider. Then for our male rider, we got again torso, 2 halves, the tilt shield. Part 32 is used for the legs, which are 34 and 35. Shield arm, his lance arm, and then choice of heads and his remaining shoulder pad. And yeah, there we have it. That's our 2 models being mounted onto their Stormdrakes. So we got the Prime, who's going to be the unit leader, and then we got a regular Stormdrake Guard. Next up then, we're building the wings. So these are interchangeable, so you can use these over any of the 2 dragons. So you can vary each model a little bit. But you got one wing set there and another wing set there. So one's a little bit more of a complex build than the other. But when it boils down to it, they are literally just glued 2 halves together. Yeah, pretty cool. Then we build our actual drakes. So our first drake here is going to be for the Prime to ride. So we got lots of bits to glue on. So we got the arms, the claws, the 2 halves of the tail, 2 halves of the body, the ball joint connector there as well. Then we can choose either head facing left or head facing right, whichever we want. And then we got the choice of heads. So you got the slightly thicker horns for the Prime, or the regular sort of head there for another normal Drake. So yeah, pretty cool. Then our second Drake. So the main body is much the same. So the 2 halves of the body, 2 halves of the tail, the glue. Then we get the glue in the flight stand, ball joint socket there. Then we glue the end of the tail on. Build up the arms and legs. Again, you got a left or a right facing choice for the neck joint. So you got one raised and one lowered as well, which is pretty cool. Didn't notice if we had that. Yes, we did have that. So you got a raised up to left, raised up to the right, lowered to the right, lowered to the left as well. So yeah, nice little options there to help enhance your model. And then again, he's got the 2 head options, so either mouth open or mouth closed, whichever you prefer. And all you got to do is glue the wings on to the actual Drake, and then you're left in your sub-assemblies. So yeah, all you got to do is put a bit of blue tack over the contact points to stop you from getting paint on them. And there you have your 2 Stormdrake Guard. So pretty cool. We've got a Prime and a regular Stormdrake rider. Although I think really they'd both be Primes, as usually the Stormdrake only choose the most valiant of warriors to ride them. Moving on, for our play articles, we've got a nice article here for the Ironjawz battle traits. So they are Mighty Destroyers. So we got a command ability. Using it in your hero phase, the model that issues this command must be Ironjawz, and a unit must be issuing to an Ironjawz unit. If the unit received the command is more than 12, you must make a normal move. From all enemy units, you can make a normal move with this unit. If the unit received is within 3 inches of the enemy, they can pile in. And if the unit is within 12 of an enemy and more than 3 from all other enemies, they can attempt to charge. You also got the War for the Ironjawz there, and the Smashing and Bashing rule as well. And we got tutorials here on all of those abilities. Finally then, Battle Plan 6 for the last stand is a test of metal. 2 heroes and 2 troops over the Realm of Metal battle mat. So yeah, pick your order or destruction force, place 5 objectives, and place sinewy pieces until 2 pieces have been played. So we're not using a lot of terrain, as it's only a fairly small board. Victory points are 1 for controlling one objective, 1 for 2 or more objectives, and 1 for each unit that spent the turn mining a metal deposit. Okay, that's interesting. So, special rule, dig for victory. Units contesting an objective which do not move, shoot, fight, or take damage can spend a turn mining the metal deposit. That's pretty cool. And we got our reference Spoils of War record at the back. Yeah. And we know what's next. It's another issue of the Stormdrake Guard. So straight into 77. So we've got 2 read articles. We got the finale of the Venom story, which is the Gonrog City Eater focus story. We also have the anatomy of a Troggoth. We have our collect articles for Stormdrake Guard, as well as Champions of Akshi. We got finishing details of the Marsh Crawler Sloggoth, and we have a fold out as well, plus Severed Lines is our final battle for the issue. So, Venom finale. Gonrog City Eater has been wandering the lands by himself in a slow decline, but soon fate, or simply bad luck, will bring him back to his homeland of Gur, where the war has moved to. There he will face a new challenge with numerous possibilities for victory. So yeah, we'll find out what's happened to good old Gonrog even. Yeah, so we'll see that the Iron Jaws have shown up and things are not looking too nice for his old art faction. Moving on, we have the final anatomy page, the anatomy of a Troggoth. So we're looking at the trolls after we've looked at all the other different types of greenskins. So written by scholar Herman Splott. So yeah, just a nice little in-lore look at what Troggoths are. They often have a lot of teeth. They are lumpy, bumpy creatures, often covered in mushrooms, hard, scaly skin. Yeah, not nice beasties. Moving on then, we got the collect article for the Stormdrake Guard. So the Stormdrake Guard are a deadly fusion of elite warriors and the mighty Draconith. Their arrival is heralded by jets of scorching flame before the Draconith descend talon first into the enemy and their riders strike their lances. So we've got a little bit here about the Pact Draconis. The Pact Draconis is a former alliance between Krondys, son of Dracothian, and Karazai the Scarred and Sigmar. The Draconith honour this pact by fighting alongside Sigmar's warriors. Some Draconith work so closely with their human allies that they are willing to bear a select few warriors to war on their backs, forming the formidable Stormdrake Guard. So, reasons for battling, Draconic strategies, unit name, and any great deeds they have done in your battles. And you can, of course, have your entire heroes come from the realm of Akshi, which, if you so choose. You got heroic origins there for your heroes, you got unit origins there for your units, and creature origins for all your monsters and such. Moving on to our paint guides, so we got the Marsh Crawler Sloggoth, how to finish off some details, so picking out the tusks and teeth and nails with Wraithbone, picking out his eyes with Abaddon Black, catch and flesh on some of the leather details. Skeleton Horde is used on teeth and tusks, and Coelia Greenshade is used on the decayed skin there. Night Questor Flesh is used on all of the wood and leather details around the model. Balor Brown is used on some of the other leather details that are holding the Howdah in place. Dawnstone to highlight the loincloth, or the wrappings on the cloth there. Wraithbone to highlight the muscle texture, as well as the stitching on the padding underneath the Howdah. Wraithbone is used to highlight the drums and the beaters. White Scar, the tusks, and the decayed flesh. And then finally, we can actually glue this guy fully together. So we can glue the Troggoth to his base. We can glue the grots in place into the Howdah. And then we can finally base him as we have the rest of the collection. Other finishing touches to do. So we've got Zandire's lamp from Zandire's Truth Seekers. So painting the lamp area with Corax White, followed by Avalanche Sunset. Then we are shading it with Gryph-hound Orange and White Scar to give a glowing effect in the recesses. The Lord Aquila's Cloak, so we've got a couple of alternative steps. So first off is just dry brush the entire thing non-oil. Secondly, we can do a bit of a tiger effect here. So we'll do a shade of Abaddon Black down the center there. Using Balor Brown, we'll do some striping along the outer side. Another thinner set of stripes with Wraithbone. Shading Cloak with Agros Earthshade before we dry brush the whole thing with Wraithbone for a quite nice little tiger effect. Then we've also got our Azurite banners to add some final details to. So Retributor armor around the banner trim, White Flesh Shade and Stormhost Silver. Alternatively, you can do a non-metallic metal type, which is quite nice. So start from Balor Brown, Catch and Flesh in certain areas, Wraithbone in other areas where you want it to be lighter. Then we'll glaze in some Balor Brown again, and do some sharp edge highlights with Balor Brown before doing some finer highlights with Wraithbone. And yeah, that's a rather nice non-metallic metal. Finally, for finishing touches, we got some details on the Spirit of Durfu to do. So we're doing the edging of the blade with Avalanche Sunset, as well as the edging of the Burning Runes and the inside of his mouth. Optionally, we can also glaze in some Avalanche Sunset on certain parts of the blade before highlighting with Wraithbone there to give a nice burning effect to the blade. So yeah, nice bumper paint guide in this issue. Moving on then, we're into our battle plan. So last stand, severed lines. So 2 heroes and 5 troops on each side, all 4 battle mats. So pick your forces, place 4 objectives, 6 pieces of terrain, rolling off a deployment, deploying your full army, then the opponent deploys their full army. Take a priority roll, 5 battle rounds. We score 1 point for one or more if you control 1 objective, 1 point if you control 2 objectives, and 1 point controlling more than the opponent. Special rule, extra arrows. Models armed with missile weapons that are contesting an objective can make an additional attack with each missile weapon they are armed with during the shooting phase. So that's pretty cool. So your shooters and your vigilors, etc. will get some much needed extra oomph out of their shooting. Then we got our spoils of war, so we can record what we've done and how we've won our victories, etc. Not finished yet though, we have a little fold out section. So this is a sort of a reference sheet which this could have been given a lot earlier in the collection. Yeah, it's basically something to help remind you about what to do with certain stages. So for instance, we've got the reference here for undercoating. So your first layer will be a bit patchy, second layer will be smoother but not quite done, and your third layer will be pretty much as smooth as you'll need. Making sure you pull the brush in one direction, getting the underside as well, as you can see here. So we got a reminder about how to thin your paints, mixing it with water, and how much the consistency you need it to be. Need to be runny, but not too runny that it runs everywhere. So you got how to load your brush. So once you've prepared your paint on your palette, you want to wash your brush clean and then get a nice point and then collect some paint. So how to relayer, how to glaze, how to dry brush, how to highlight, how to add basing details. So we're adding extra leftover bits from our models, some extra skulls and rocks, some shields. Painting our detail paint down, and then we have our shading, so different types of shading: all over, focused, or recess. And finally on the back then we got how to base coat our models, so base coating certain sections, and some top tips here on how to base coat, so top to bottom, then dark to light. Plus we've got little reminders here to have a look at further pages for more in-depth detail on those particular methods. Yeah, it's nice. Odd that we've given it this late in the collection. It would have been something better that I had in the early part, in the first 10 to 20 issues. Just something that we could help refer to as we get more and more new models as the collection grows. But yeah, it's a handy little reference. It's not bad. It's not the best either. Just a little late in the collection. Right. Moving on then. Issue 78, a third and final part of the Stormdrake Guard. We have a painting guide and a war scroll. So we have another story ending. This is Nature's Gambit, the finale. We have our paint guide for Stormdrake Guard. We have our rules for them. And we have poisoning the well as our mission. So Nature's Gambit. So after meeting the Stormcast Eternals, Mielene and the Loyal Tree Revenants agree to escort them to a nearby realm gate. However, the forces of destruction are massing nearby and both sides will soon be fighting for their lives once more. So yeah, we finish off the story of the Sylvaneth part of the Force. I can't remember if we ever got a nice continual story like this with the Casual Overlords. I think we had a few smaller ones, but that's about it. But yeah, it's just a nice way to finish off the story, and it even showcases what your Sylvaneth collection could look like. So we got our Arc Revenant, we got Dryker, we got Tree Lord, we got Alariel, and we got the Tree Revenants, the Dryads, the Spike Revenants, and the Kurnoth Hunters there, and even Belphanos and his personal little retinue, which I have that box still. I really need to build and paint him because he looks an awesome model. And then we have the Sylvaneth fighting off against the Auric boss on his giant vulture creature there. So yeah. Moving on, we got our paint guide. So first off, some preparation. If you haven't done so already, cover your contact points with some blue tack. So the ball joint there, as well as the saddle, the crotch area, groinal area where the mount rider sits on the mount. Don't forget to cover that up as well. Then base coats. So it wants you to base coat all by brush as usual. But seriously, big models like the Drake will really benefit from an all-over overcoat of a spray. So Wraithbone, Whitebone for a nice bright colour, or if you want a slightly greyer undertone, go for Ghoul Grey or Grey Seer. Retributor armour, or there is a gold colour from Colourforge as well. You could use that to help give a nice base coat to your Stormcast. Personally, I'll be painting mine as Iron Fane, so I'll be using my Sanguine Red. So for our Drakes, we're going to be doing a lot of glazing and shading, starting off with Coelia Green shade over all the scales, so and the backs of the wings here. Then we want to thin down Inky by Darkness to a wash consistency to glaze over the harder scales, and yeah, slowly work this up in a few layers. Keep going till you get what you're happy with pretty much. But yeah, the more you add, of course, the more detail you're going to clog up. So less is definitely best with this sort of painting. Touch up the underside with Wraithbone again before hitting it with Skeleton Horde and a dry brush of Wraithbone. Then we're dry brushing Sidebright Green over the softer scales and the arms and the wings, and then proper edge highlighting on the harder scales there with Sidebright Green. That's pretty much the Drake skin done, very much the same as how we painted Krondys in the premium kit. So moving on to painting armor, so we're going to be looking at parts of the dragon and parts of the rider. So you're going to pick out the gold areas with Retributor armor that you haven't done already. Joints the Stormcast with Abaddon Black. The main body of the armor in Cantor Blue, and then picking out any shields and shoulder pads on the riders. Corn Red is used to pick out the dragon's mouth. Catachan Flesh is used to pick out the belts as well as the stirrups here on the rider, and any straps on the armor for the dragon as well as its nails. And Baraknar Burgundy then, moving on, is used for its tongue. So yeah, the teeth, I guess, are also done in the Catachan Flesh. And Barracknell Burgundy is used as well for weapon hilt grips. Lead Belcher then for all our remaining metal detail. So the full part of the lance, the metal part of the stirrups, the buckles on the belts. Corax White for any white details, Wraithbone for any parchment, as well as the dragon's eyes. Then we can move to shading. So the blue areas are getting a shade of Nuln Oil. Gold armor is getting a shade of Rhine Flesh Shade. Parchment is getting a Skeleton Horde, and the eyes of our drakes are getting a shade of Barracknell Burgundy. Then we can move on to highlighting. So Stormhost Silver to highlight all of our metal details. So there's a lot to go through. Just take your time, especially when it comes to highlighting our Storm Riders. Techless Blue is used to highlight the armor on the drakes, as well as the shields and shoulder pads on our riders. Baylor Brown is used to edge highlight the leather straps, Night Quest of Flesh to highlight the teeth, Slash Grey to highlight the tongue, as well as the hilts and grips on the weapons, White Scar to highlight all the white and wraithbone details, Dawnstone on the black, and finally we're painting the eyes with a little bit of Avalanche Sunset, shade of Rhine Flesh Shade, and a little bit of black for the pupils. Yeah, nice little eye detail there, quite nicely done. And then we're picking out any gems with Mephiston Red, Agric Earthshade, and Wild Rider Red highlight, and that will be our finished models. So yeah, actually they have painted over the base. It looked like it was they glued the stands on top, but I think they have actually, I don't know, one looks like they've put the base detail over it. The other one looks like it's just flat on top. So very weird. But yeah, you definitely want to add a bit more detail to your base than just how they've done it here, which is of course Catch and Flesh, texture paint over the top, Agric Earthshade, and Wraithbone. Finally then, we have our rules. So a lot of rules here to go through. So they can fly, it counts as a mount. You have a champion if you take a prime in the unit. They are dispersed formation, so 2 to 5 models, they have a 3-inch coherency. If it has more than 5 models, it is coherent if each model in the unit is 3 inches from 2 other models in the unit. They have the Merciless Impact, so impact hits, so they have better damage and rend on the lances when they charge. They have the Arcane Heritage, so if they're affected by a spell or ability of an endless spell, you can roll dice and ignore it on a 4+. They have their Flame Stream. You can drag enemies into the Tempest. And they have Draconic Onslaught. All those rules are explained in depth in our tutorials over the next few pages. So rules about dispersed formation, so you don't have to be as close as infantry models, as they are quite big and spacious models as they fly around the battlefield. So their Merciless Impact improves the rend and damage of the rider's lances. Their Arcane Heritage protects them from spells from Scraglot here. They can burn enemies with their flame. They can drag somebody into the Tempest high above, and they have a Draconic Onslaught, so they can re-roll their charges. Finally then, we have our last stand mission, Poisoning the Well. So 2 heroes and 2 troops, and we're fighting over one of our older mats, so battle mat 4 here. So what we need to do, we need to pick your forces, of course. Place 3 objectives in a diagonal, so 1 on each deployment zone and 1 in no man's land. And then take it in turns placing scenery pieces until 3 have been placed. Then you roll off, of course, for deployment. Player who wins places all their models down in their territory, then the opponent. First turn, of course, is another roll off. Battle lasts for 5 rounds. We score victory points, 1 for controlling 1 objective, 1 for 2 or more objectives, and 1 if you control more than the opponent. And we also have the special rule, Water of Life. Units that are contesting the central objective roll d6 at the end of a combat phase On a 5+, they can heal D3 wounds. So, pretty cool. Not much in the way of poisoning here. I was expecting a special thing for destruction to poison the objectives and good guys to heal them or something. But yeah, we got space to record our victories in the battles, and of course our scores there as well. And that brings us to what is next. So next up then is, of course, the clincher, our last 2 issues. 79 brings us part 1 of Swamp Boss Scumdrake. You can also build a killer boss on a Swamp Trogoth. I'm not too sure on the proper name. We learn all about a war with a short story, I'm guessing. A war is born. So yeah, 80 then, our final issue comes with Swamp Boss Scumdrake Part 2, our final tactics for the Order faction, so looking at the new Stormdrake Guard. And then we have our final battle for the Mortal Realms. Whew, that was a long one. Sorry, it took a while to get through. There's quite a lot in these issues. Right, let's bring everything back in. I'll give you my final thoughts on the final Stormcast models. So there we have it, a bumper video for a trio of bumper issues. I won't talk too much as I've kind of covered everything, but fantastic models. They are a painter's delight. They look slightly complex, but they're not too bad to build. Just do plenty of dry fittings and plenty of reading of your instructions to make sure you aren't gluing incorrect components together. And don't use too much glue. Less is always more when it comes to building complex models like this. If you have been lucky enough to pick up extras of these, well done. You're going to have yourself some awesome models. If you want to build the Knight Draconis, look up online for instructions. I'm sure there'll be someone who's uploaded the complete build guide for these guys. We are only getting what the magazine wants us to build, so yeah, it's what it is. But yeah, all in all, I'm looking forward to building these guys myself and adding them to my Iron Fanes collection. For the magazines, 3 great magazines. We're finishing off a lot of stories, some great paint guides to help finish off all of our models. Really cool. Nothing too rushed either. It's all nicely detailed. Some nice advanced techniques. That non-metallic metal, that tiger cloak was quite nice as well. And yeah, I think the paint guides for the Knights are really cool. Just would have been nice if they added some extra detail to the bases. I know that it'll tell you to reference back to the previous guide we had for adding detail, etc. But still, yeah, pretty cool nonetheless. And yeah, it's a great finisher for the collection for the Stormcast. And up next then is, of course, Swamp Boss Scumdrake and his giant Trogoth beast. Yeah, all in all, I think pretty good value. These are a pretty expensive kit. I believe they're 50 to 60, maybe more. I can't quite remember. I've not really looked at these to buy them because they are an expensive kit and I didn't really see myself using them. But now I've got a set, I definitely can see myself using at least these 2. But yeah, it's nice they have lots of build options in the kit, so you can build a champion or a regular knight, whichever you prefer. But yeah, nice to get this over 3 issues, so 30 quid for a, I'm guessing 60 to 70 quid model kit. So pretty good value saver there. As I said, with the Iron Jaws, that is a pretty good value saver, as it was £10 for a £40 kit of 10 models. But yeah, let me know what you thought of this video. Sorry it was a long one, in the comment section. But yeah, until next time, thank you all very much for watching. Stay safe and happy hobbying. Goodbye.